really where it was leading, because he didn't say he was going to make a record. He just wanted to work out these songs and see if anything flew.
This apparent lack of focus that had begun in the period leading up to Empire Burlesque became an increasing feature of Dylan's work, to the evident detriment of his mid-80s releases. Indeed, Empire Burlesque and Knocked Out Loaded are often considered to be something of a piece, both albums comprising tracks lifted from across the revolving door sessions that ran between 84 and 86.
He would kind of, here's a group, and then it would move on to another group and another group, and there wouldn't be necessarily continuity, although I was on early sessions, and then I would be on later sessions too. I was called back. I remember I saw him at a party at Gary's house after Empire, and he said, "Oh, what are you doing on Tuesday?" You know, "Oh, I don't know, Bob, what are you doing?" "Why don't you come up to the studio? I'm working." So I went up there, and at that session, Al Cooper was playing, and James Jamerson Jr., son of the famous bass player, was playing. A bunch of people I'd never seen. I was the only guy from the old group that was brought into the new group. And so I was kind of confused as to what this was all about, and it was at Skyline. And we were doing, I think we were doing Drifting Too Far From Shore. I forgot what song it was, but things really got out of hand, it seemed. Like there were, 4 guitar players and 2 drummers, and it was kind of this weird wall of sound live. And it didn't feel comfortable to me because it seemed so out of control.
I mean, it was just loose. It was like the way I'd heard Dylan sessions were, where it was just, Bob, let's just play and make, I mean, literally it would be like, Bob would come in and say, "Oh, I'll get the song go like this." And that was it. We were off and running. There was the song, and the band would play. And I said, "Wow, this is cool. What's next?" And the bass player's looking at me, "What's the next chord?" I said, "I don't know, And just like that. And the song was, made up there. I said, "Okay, so this is like a Rolling Stone session or something where nobody knows where it's going until it's done."
It didn't seem like there was any coherent plan, and it was really ironic that Rolling Stone was there, and I forgot who was writing it for it, but they were hanging out for a while. I think it was around this time, and they were chronicling these sessions, and I remember reading when they came out, it was a cover story of Rolling Stone, and I remember reading this reporter's account of what happened, and I could have sworn I was at a different session. He was writing about how methodical everything was, and then Bob thought, "Let's put the horns on this, and then, and then we'll put the background vocals on," and I thought, this is completely not what was happening as I saw it. I saw it as, trial and error, tremendous amount of experimentation, not all successful, and really a lot of confusion.
Released in August 86, Knocked Out Loaded took a battering from critics and a kicking from audiences, failing to even make the top 50 in the US chart. Many were shocked that Dylan had only composed 2 of the tracks himself, and that the rest of the album was made up of cover versions, tracks credited to co-writers such as Tom Petty and playwright Sam Shepard, and new arrangements of traditional material. Observers also duly noted an uneven quality and lack of direction to the album, a pitfall that had always been threatened by the manner in which it was recorded.
I mean, there's a whole lot of different ways of making a product for product's sake, and I think actually probably these was one of the better ways of doing that. I think he was still trying to write songs and taking the best ones he could do, and they weren't that good, but I don't think he just put out the crappy ones, He always had done records loose, so why should he now try to do them tight? That was, it wasn't as if, the somewhat slack productions of those records, it's just, he believed in slack production. That was his method, so I don't hold that against him. However, the records don't work. They're no good.
I think by the time of Knocked Out Loaded, Dylan, was creatively in a really bad way. And I think, to be honest, all those, the bulk of those remaining albums from the 80s, it's really difficult to remember what's on what, because they all tend to blur into one another in this great unplayed pile. Knocked Out Loaded, apart from one of the worst ever covers of a Bob Dylan album, it did have Brownsville Girl on it, which is that 11-minute collaboration with Sam Shepard, and I think David Hepworth at the time in Q pointed out that sort of any Bob Dylan song over about 5 minutes is automatically called a masterpiece.
It's one of these songs, it's 4 chords that cycle themselves. There's no bridge, there's no chorus, it's just 4 chords that just keep going, and the dynamics determine where the verse was and where the chorus was. And as we were doing it, we thought we were doing an anthem. We thought, oh, this is a sad-eyed lady of the lowlands. This is a Desolation Row. This is one of these greats. And it had that feeling about it when we did it. The original tracking session, it was originally called Brownsville Girl. And there were some lyric revisions along the way. But it really felt like this was one of these landmark Bob Dylan recordings, which I think unfortunately suffered as time went on, as more overdubs got on, and suddenly this wall of sound arrangement kind of crept into it, and it started sounding like a Phil Spector record, which it was absolutely not feeling like when we first recorded it. So, you know, it felt like it had the anthem, but it ultimately was not there.
Way down in Mexico, you went out to find a doctor and you never came back. I would have gone on after you, but I didn't feel like letting my head get blown off. Well, we're driving this car and the sun is coming up over the Rockies. Now I know she ain't you, but she's here and she's got that dark rhythm in her soul.
As I said, it was these 4 chords, G, A minor, C, D, G. That was the song for 12 some odd minutes. Nothing changed except the dynamics of them. And now we're recording it, and he had some female vocalists in there. I think, yes, at that time. He stopped the recording and said that he was short a verse. I said, well, we could stop and go to another song, and he said, no, give me a second. So he takes out a very impossibly small pen and an equally impossibly small piece of paper and starts writing in the corner of the studio. And I didn't know what he was doing. We didn't know what we were doing. We just took a break, and I don't think more than 10 minutes went by. And he said, okay, let's try it. It then dawned on us what he had done. He wrote this verse, and there was a lot of writing to be done in this very small space. And so we're getting to it. Now we're hearing the new verse for the first time, and our jaws are slack, because the guy just sat there and wrote a great verse without having to, you know, go home and think about it and do whatever you have to do to summon up the muse. So that was one of those moments where the genius aura came, oh, that's why he's Bob Dylan, he can do that.